In this video, I'll show you how to use Adobe Substance 3D Sampler to create realistic 3D materials, a woven, embroidered, and combined patches. Starting from vector illustrations created in Adobe Illustrator. You can use these materials to texture object in Substance 3D Painter for export to fashion design software, to simply preview designs before they are manufactured. We'll start from Illustrator. If you haven't created design yourself, you can download the files used in this video. In Illustrator, we've made sure to use square proportions of 1,000 by 1,000 points. We usually use up to 5 colors, but you can go up to 10 different colors in Sampler. We also make sure the background is transparent. Then use File, Export for screens, to export as PNG, set up a path, and choose a scale. In this case, a 4x upscale gives us a 4K result. With the artboard exported, we can get started in Substance 3D Sampler. Click Create New to start a new project. We'll select the flame color file, drag it into Sampler, and drop it on the layer stack. You will see the material creation template window appear. We're going to ignore Sampler suggestions to use bitmap to material and instead choose Use as bitmap. This creates a base material layer with your image on top. That doesn't do anything, so let's start with turning this into an embroidered patch. In the bottom left, you can see the Assets panel. It shows your materials and filters available for use. Click the search field and type embroiderer. You will see the embroidery filter appear. Grab it and drag it to the top of your layer stack. Embroider is not a light filter. It might take a while to calculate. If it's show for you, set the resolution to 1024 with a drop down above the 3D view. You can switch or export at 4K later. After some calculations, you should see results show up. You might want to modify the mesh show in the 3D view. Click the viewer settings, bottom in the bottom left. Scroll down to the meshes. A regular plane works well, but the cube gives you a better idea of how light reacts with a patch. If it repeated tilling bother you, you can change the texture scale setting above the mesh. Just set both U and V settings to 1 to disable the tilling. Now, we can jump into the embroider filter. One of the most important settings is the color count. It sets the maximum number of color zones to exact from your illustration. Each zone will be filled with stitches individually. It defaults to 5, which happen to be the exact number we need. You have to adjust this if you bring in more colors. Below the color count, let you adjust the look of the stitches. You can set global embroidery scale, tweak individual thread scale, change the distance of the 3D thickness effect, and change imperfections in stitch directions. Things get more interesting once you get the individual color settings. These can be a bit tricky at first because of the automatic color recognition. You don't know which number matches with what color. They are ordered by service area, but even that can be hard to tell. The best way to find out is to open one up and change a setting drastically, like the setting in the height position to 1. You'll see which color zone reacts with another interesting setting is the orientation mode. Automatically try to figure out a direction based on the shape. It works best for complex shapes and thin edges or text. Circular or square work best for big, contiguous fields like our red and orange areas. If you want to go even further, look at the input fields below the embroidery filter in the layers tab. Each of these fields matches a color zone, and you can override that material completely. If you close the viewer settings and clear your previous search, you can drag a material from the Assets panel into a slot. Try it with the tweed or twill fabric materials. You notice that the color gets replaced by the material's color. We can fix this in the embroidery filter properties. There is the color mode drop down. Choose color image to replace the material color with the one from our illustration. You can even use costume materials here. We've included the woven pattern material along with the files, but you can also find that one and others for free on Substance 3D community assets. If you're looking for even more high quality fabrics, you can use your credits to download them from the Substance 3D assets website. To bring a material in first, click the back arrow in the Assets panel. Then go into your assets, drag and drop the woven pattern spear file into the Assets panel. Now you can use it just like any other material. Let's use it in a few areas. Make sure to delete the old material first before you drop a new one in. Once a new material is in, click on it to change settings for just that material. Change settings for, so try playing the pattern type and the scale to find that works. When you're happy with the material, you can right click it to rename it, hit enter to confirm. And let's try some advanced patches. This time I want to create a woven patch that has some embroidery on some areas as well. To do this, we have to split our patch in Illustrator. The woven part goes on separate artboard, so do the embroidery part. Easiest is to duplicate the entire artboard and then delete specific parts of each, depending on the technique. When working with the two techniques, we need to create a material for each technique. So click the plus and add a new material. Then drag and drop your rag woven illustration in and use it as a big map. Just like embroidery, there's a weave filter that you can add. So weave is similar to embroidery. It also identifies color zones automatically. And you can use the same trick to figure out what number is which color. Just change the parameter to see what color responds. Weave has a few key parameters. Most important are the area, size, and the density of stitches. The area size represents the physical length of your artboard in Illustrator. Density is how many stitches you will get per centimeter. Together, they determine the scale of the stitches. For each color, there are a number of settings to adjust, like border size that stretches stitches on the edge, or height position to have thicker weaves. Once you're ready tweaking the weaves, you can move to our second part. Create another new material through the plus button again. Then we'll drop in an image, this time the red embroider file. Once imported as image, we add the embroider filter on top. And we can tweak the settings of the embroider a bit more. Before we continue, it's best to now name each material by right-clicking and choose Rename. This helps keep things organized and easy to use. I'll just name the material after our files, so red weaves and red embroider. Once renamed, I'll create our final material, and name it red combined. And then make sure this third material is opened. All that left is to drag our two materials in by order of construction. The weave goes on the bottom, so I drag the red weave material in first. Any material you create can be reused as another layer like this. Then I will do the same with the red embroidery and place it on top of the red weave in the layer stack. If you place two materials on top of each other like this, they are blended with a specific technique above the layer stack. The technique of the current blend is shown on a drop down. Refine with height blend, so we'll leave it like this. Next to the layer thumbnail, there is an icon for the blending. If you click it, you can change blending parameters. For height, blend, offset, and contrast are most important. We'll move the contrast to maximum. And then we change it offset until the weave just starts to fade. Then back it off a little bit. This combines the two materials, like it in real life. Once the materials are blended, and you can adjust the separate weave and embroidery materials. But if you go back to the combined material, you have to click the update all. Now, message on the top of the layer stack to propagate your changes with that. Our embroidered and woven patch is done. To use our material elsewhere, we use this share button on the top right corner. This patch will work well in Substance 3D Painter, so we can use the send to functionality to send it over. Inside Painter, it can then be used as decal by dragging and dropping it onto your mesh using Alt plus the left mouse button for a decal. You do have to open up the channels mapping, roll out, and then set the mask drop down to use the opacity. Okay, so opacity we map. If you want to use the patch in another application, use the same share button in Sampler. But click Export. Make sure you've choose a path and change the format to SPSER. The SPSER format is supported in applications like VStitcher or Kilo, and you can use it to place graphics on your designs.